I'm ready.
Here we go. Hello, everybody. It's time for tips, topics, issues, and positions. And I'm Bob Oxley. And today's topic is going to be sports. And we're going to talk specifically about Dixie State University sports. And ironically, I have invited, coerced, encouraged, and very fortunate to have the Dr. Jason Boothe, who is the athletic director here at Dixie State University, be our guest. So welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Bob. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's great. I've got so many questions, and I've got such a short period of time to cover this. So
fire away.
This is great. I'm getting excited. Football season starts tomorrow for us, and wow. I guess we always start off with basics, and then we get a little bit more in depth with some of the questions. So can you give us just a little bit of an overview when you got here on campus, some of the changes that have taken place as far as sports that are available to both the male and female gender here on campus in compliance with Title IX and things of that sort?
Well, I got here in 2010, and in those 8 years, now this being my 9th year, we have added 3 sports, women's golf being the first one, followed by swimming, and then women's track, outdoor track specifically. So those are 3 we've added, but the other 12 sports that we had when I got here have just been strengthened and along the way without forgetting about them as well.
Fantastic. And what we're looking at as far as this fall schedule, can you give us just what sports are active right now in the fall?
In the fall, we have our 2 cross-country teams are running. Volleyball is already in their 2nd week. They're actually playing in a tournament in the Burns Arena as we speak. It's going on. A huge tournament, actually. The team had a big win last night against the number 18 team in the nation. So
fantastic.
That was it. They're a really good team, fun to watch. We have our 2 soccer teams competing. Both teams won their first games yesterday on the road, so they're off to good starts. And then, of course, you've got football that you mentioned that is on the road tomorrow at Colorado State University Pueblo.
Fantastic, exciting times.
Very much so.
This really gets the student body going, and it really makes it, this truly is a college campus. And
yeah, the fall sports seasons are always, it's just a fun time because everyone's back and rejuvenated and energized, and there's a lot of optimism, and it's just fun to see the teams in action.
Fantastic. Well, our listeners and viewers would probably be upset if I didn't bring up about these facilities that we've got here. A lot of changes. Can you give us an update? What's transpired in the last year that is different this fall that we hadn't seen? I know there's a lot of changes.
Yeah, last summer you probably recall seeing we put in a new field. We replaced our field turf field with another field turf surface field, made it a little bit wider so that our soccer field was regulation width. And then in doing so, we replaced the track as well. And that was phase 1 of the Trailblazer Stadium renovation project. And then phase 2 started right away with the addition of 5,000 seats on the east side of that field, which for years there had been no seating over there other than some small bleachers. So now we have a beautiful grandstand structure with locker rooms and training rooms and lots of storage underneath them, as well as plenty of restrooms for those 5,000 fans, men's and women's at each end of it, as well as a ticketing and concessions building at the north end.
Well, that's on that side of the field now.
Correct.
So they don't have to walk all the way around on the track like they used to.
Correct.
Huge lines. And
correct. Yep. So now we have the facilities to host larger events that we've had there in the past that we haven't been really prepared for. With permanent facilities such as restrooms, we've had to bring in temporary restrooms, but now we've got the restrooms in place to host large events, be it our athletic events or 4th of July, you name it.
I've got a question to ask. Have we got our invitations out for the state football championships to be held at Trailblazer Stadium?
That is something we have been working on since we announced we were going to be doing the renovations. So the High School Activity Association is very aware that we're here and ready and willing anytime they want to give it to us. And they've already toured the facility. In fact, Snow Canyon High School had to play in Trailblazer Stadium a few weeks ago because their turf wasn't ready. So they got a firsthand look as to what we can do there with our locker rooms. And so I think it's just a matter of time when those will come together. And a lot of times it may just be a fact of who's playing. who qualifies for the playoffs. And if it is 2 local teams, well, then let's pull the trigger real quick and play here rather than going all the way up to Salt Lake.
I agree.
So
I agree. That's happened to us.
Oh yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
So hopefully,
we got some good players down here.
We got a good option now that they
That's
don't have to
great.
go up north.
Now, just for information for our listeners, the new side, the new 5,000 seats, there's 4 dressing rooms. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that
yep.
when 2 teams are out there playing, you've got 2 getting ready, like in a championship playoff type situation.
Yep. There are 2 large 100 locker rooms over there, but they are dividable down the middle by a movable wall that can be locked. So that makes 4 50 locker rooms, which is plenty for a high school team to use. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to host events such as 2 games back to back like that.
That is fantastic. That's forward thinking.
Yeah, well,
that's great. Staying with the football facility, the next phase, correct me if I'm wrong, are we going to have like executive suites on the west side?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
That's the goal. We have completely programmed and ready to go, and now we're just in the fundraising phase of getting the money together to remove the current structure, the buildings underneath the seating. The seating concrete structure will stay. That's in great shape. We don't have to touch that.
Okay.
But the locker rooms, training rooms, restrooms, all that will be torn out and replaced with new locker rooms, training rooms, much larger restrooms for the fans, and then it will go up with a press box. That'll be a 2-level press box that will include all the amenities that we have now for the press, but additional spaces for entertaining our fans, be it suites or club seating, taking it up another level so that we can provide a much better experience for the fans, be it, again, for our events or outside events, trying to encourage them to come here.
That is great.
To provide a great experience.
That is great. Now, this is all rumor mill that I've received.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there always is. When and if, because of the population projections growth, and just for this area itself,
Sure.
Do you have future plans? And that this is someone said this, people are talking about this, so I don't know what people they're talking about.
There's always people talking. Yeah.
That you can, your next expansion, when you deem it necessary, you'll be able to extend the east and west side of the Trailblazer Stadium to make it like a horseshoe.
Yep.
And it would be facing our campus. In other words, it would be like a horseshoe, and they would face the fountain. He said, "What a view!" And then the other rumor going on. So I'm throwing all this at you because you're here.
I've heard that one.
And then the digital digital board with scoreboard and you can have video replays and everything up there. Yep. That's all part of the future plans of Dixie State University?
Correct. Well, the video board is actually something that we want to do in the final phase of the stadium without adding more seats. So the horseshoe idea that you mentioned, we actually feel that would probably be more cost effective to go around the north end because there's a hill already there to kind of use that and build it in that way rather than go around the south end where there's the lower field and it could be done, I'm sure, but just probably at a much higher price tag. But we haven't even, beyond just sitting and talking over, lunch, and just drawings on a napkin, we haven't even gone anywhere close to that.
You know what's encouraging? I'm picking up this stuff on out there in the real world.
Yeah,
they're talking about.
Oh
you.
yeah, no.
I mean, people are excited.
I can see that in the future. Now, in the distant future, not next year or in 5 years, that would be a reality because with the way this community is growing and this growth, the demand will be there, and so I can see that being a realistic possibility.
Fantastic. Okay. Talking still on facilities.
Mm-hmm.
There's this little building being built off University Avenue with a lot of beams sticking in the air right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I don't know what you're talking about. That is the Human Performance Center is a very exciting addition to campus. Much as the Holland building was a few years ago, the Human Performance Center will again just signify tremendous growth and change here on campus. That building, 155,000 square feet, will change this campus for generations. And that's not just euphemism. I mean, that is real because students will be directly impacted with that for the offers, the amenities that it will offer them, from the Olympic-sized pool to the basketball courts to the indoor basketball court that doubles as a indoor soccer and roller hockey. to the exercise areas, to the classrooms for those programs will offer, to the roof that will have basketball courts and pickleball courts on it, that will also be able to entertain large groups of people. I mean, it's a major multi-use building that will get used. Probably it could 24 hours a day if we wanted to.
That's fantastic.
It's going to be amazing.
Climbing wall.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the climbing wall.
Somebody said that it's going to be the largest climbing wall
in the state.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it'll be.
We're going to do it right, do it big, right?
Yeah, and it'll be visible from 700 East, so it'll be beautiful with the glass. Seeing that, I mean, this tall structure, and there's no better place than St. George, Utah, to have the best climbing wall, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, go.
Here we are.
Do it safely, and then go to Zion and do it real. But
and don't have to worry about the rocks.
Correct. But there'll be a bouldering piece down on the lower level that you
wow.
can do that, practice that, and then go, do the rock climbing piece. So
absolutely.
It's going to be a state of the art.
Any projections of when this is going to be done? Is going to be a year from now?
Oh, it'll be done this time next year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Okay. This is fantastic, and I understand that that's going to be the entrance, the main entrance to Dixie State University is going to be right there, right between the Holland and the new Performance
Correct.
Center.
That road there between the new Human Performance Center and the what was the tennis courts and now a parking lot.
Yes,
it was renamed Trailblazer Boulevard.
Wow.
So that will come into the circle there by the Holland Building, and that will be the entrance to campus with palm tree lined street, and it's going to be beautiful.
Fantastic. Wow, it's exciting.
Very much so.
It's exciting. It just doesn't stop around here. It just keeps moving on and on.
The only thing that's constant is change. So
okay, I'm going to switch gears now.
Okay.
You ready for this one? There's a rumor out there.
Oh, another rumor. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
I got a lot of people that talk to me. Just as long as I don't give their names on the air, we're okay.
Okay.
They indicate that there's a rumor out there that Dixie State University is looking seriously now at moving up to Division I. NCAA Division I. Is that a rumor?
That's not a rumor. No,
fantastic.
That is fact. We've been approached by the Western Athletic Conference to gauge our interest. This was back in the spring about, would we be interested in a potential move to Division I someday? And we gave kind of a lukewarm response, like, well, not really. And this was, they approached president. It wasn't me. But the more we thought about it, we thought, well, you know what? If we do have an opportunity, if we are lucky enough to be presented with an opportunity, we need to have our ducks in a row to be able to give an educated answer. We don't want to answer yes without all the information and then regret it, or we don't want to answer no right away and regret that. So over the course of the summer, we've hired a consultant who does this all the time.
Good.
Has done over 35 of these for potential Division II schools looking to reclassify, and they have said, we don't recommend it at times to these schools, and they've said that we recommend it to other schools. So they're not in the business just to tell you that you should do it just because you want to do it. They give a good, hard look and give you a good, solid feasibility study. So we're getting the initial drafts of that in, and we're going over that, but we should have all of that completed here this fall. Okay. When and if we get an invitation, be it from the WAC, who was the initial one that gave us interest. They're the only one that has expressed interest in it, so it's not like we're getting, an avalanche of conferences that want us. The key thing to remember with that is a school we couldn't just decide, hey, we're going to be Division I. Okay, now we're Division I. That doesn't work that way. You have to have a conference that wants you. If you don't have a conference, the NCAA will not allow you to go won't allow you to be Division I.
Got it.
So we need a conference invitation first. So until we have that, there's really nothing for us to act on. But we're just doing it behind the scenes, just making sure we're just analyzing it. I mean, can we do it now? Can we do it in 5 years? Can we do it ever? And we're looking at it. Can we do it now if we are able to get an official invitation in the near future?
Okay, so you're really
lots of ifs, but we're just getting ourselves ready.
So my rumor mill came through on this one.
Yeah, rumor mill.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, we have not made a decision if we're going to go or not, but we're investigating it and we're just exploring it at this point.
Okay.
At this point, we have no idea, one, if we'll even get an invitation. We have a pretty good idea that the WAC is pretty interested in us, but you don't know until something official were to come. But two, we don't know yet. We haven't done all the vetting and talking with all the stakeholder groups in full depth yet to even have begun to make a decision.
Right. One of the questions, I'm just thinking, you're mentioning the WAC. The WAC doesn't have a football
Correct.
Not a-
Yeah.
So that would be a major concern for us. would it?
To the outsider, possibly, but at the FCS level, which is what this level would be, it's much easier to be independent than it would be, like, say, for BYU.
Okay.
You know, look at the struggles they've had.
I know.
At the bowl subdivision level, it's just a different ball game. I mean, no pun intended. It's just different for them. It's a much harder struggle for them being Division One independent. Division One FCS, which is the same level as Southern Utah and Weber State and Northern Arizona. They're in the Big Sky, but we would be independent. The Big Sky, for example, is always looking for games. With the way their schedule is, they always have a few open dates, and they would. We feel very confident that they would love to have another FCS school in the West that they could schedule and do home and away agreements. So we play there one year, they come here the next, etc. So it's not as big of a concern as you might think, but it is something that we have to be aware of. And it's probably not something we would want to do for the rest of our, existence. We would definitely be wanting to look at conference options down the road, but it's not going to be a deal breaker necessarily, based upon our initial investigation so far. That would preclude us from doing it.
Okay.
Because we support football. I mean, that's not.
I was going to say this
we're
area.
Not going down that road.
Okay.
We want football here for forever. There's no concern about dropping the sport. That's not even an option for us.
You know what I'm envisioning here? A home series with SUU.
Well,
because that goes back historically.
Yeah.
For us.
And that would be wonderful. I mean, and of course there have to be, two parties at that. We're willing and ready, but are they? And I'm sure they would be. It just depends on their scheduling and when their open dates are and things like that. But
Absolutely.
that's the idea, is to have some great regional rivalries. If that's one great positive to that move, if it were to happen.
Fantastic. You've got an Olympic-sized pool coming in. You now have varsity women's swimming.
Yep.
Men's swimming.
Swimming.
Yeah. Is that coming up in the future? Could you explain to our listeners about your hands are pretty much tied somewhat about Title IX compliance? Could you explain a little bit of that for us?
There's three ways to be. I'll do it as briefly as possible, not to lose all the listeners and put them to sleep. But there's three ways to be compliant with Title IX. The first way is that your athletic participation opportunities match your student body. So we're at about 55-45, 55% female, 45% male. So of our 400 student athletes, we would need to have 55% of those be females, then 45% be males.
Got it.
But with a football team, there's not another sport to really offset that and get those numbers up, unless you just have a lot of other women's teams that you don't have men's teams for. But that's one way to be compliant. We're not compliant in that way, but you only have to be compliant in one prong. So we're compliant in Title IX, but it's with prong 2, which is showing progress and having a plan of addressing and fixing. I guess the better word is addressing the underrepresented sex. So in our case, underrepresented sex would be females, because we don't have 55% of our student athletes be females.
Okay.
So we need to add more opportunities for females, which is why, your first question, we've added women's golf, women's swimming, and women's track over the last 8 years, just to show that we're aware of it. We're not ignoring it. We're adding sports. We're growing, and we have a plan, and we're keeping to that plan. So we're compliant, 100%. The other way to be compliant is by meeting the needs of the general student body, of the population, and you do that by surveying them on an annual basis and saying, what does everyone want? Is there some huge need or want out there that we're not satisfying? So if the great need were to come back that there's a specific sport that there's 150 girls on campus that want to play, well, then we'd have to take a serious look at that, provided that it's a sport within our region that we could play. So, for example, the example I use is if there's 100 girls on campus that were adamant that we have a field hockey team, well, there's no one in our region, in the Mountain West region, that plays field hockey.
Yeah.
It's all on the East Coast, and that's not a realistic sport to add. Now, indoor track, possibly.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of indoor track programs in here, and that's one we are looking to add, because we already have outdoor track, and we would add indoor as well. So that's how that works.
Okay.
So the big answer is we are 100% compliant with Title IX, and it's with prong 2. And we are constantly keeping our thumb on that and making sure that we are meeting those needs and being compliant with that.
Fantastic. Student athletes, academics.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to have been made aware of over the last year through some of my students that there's an emphasis from the athletic department that academics is just as important as your sports. And we're seeing, as a result of your efforts, influence over the last 2 or 3 years, a consistent increase in improvement in academics. Can you address that a little bit for us?
Oh, that's easy. They are not called student athletes for nothing. They're not athlete students. They're students first, and that's the 100% emphasis. Now, they're also here to participate on athletic teams for sure. We don't, want to discount that because that's important too. But the academics is more important because in my time here, we've had less than 5, maybe 6 athletes have a chance and have an opportunity to play professionally. I mean, the percentage of that is minuscule when you look at it. This isn't, the top levels of Division I, where they're, our football team's getting 7 or 8 guys drafted every year. That's not the case. But even in that situation, the opportunities are minuscule there, so it's even smaller here. So they have to come out of here with a degree. That is their number one goal.
Well, I've got some of those students from your program, and let me tell you, just to let you know realistically, it's like night and day.
Good.
Since you've come on board, and I can see the difference. And they're serious. They show up for a class. They participate. Yep. They make me fully aware of their schedules when they're for out of town games. And even though they've given me the schedule and I've got it written down, they come up.
Good.
So that whole, as a result of your leadership, as a result of that, that's happening.
Good.
And sometimes you don't get input for that.
And our goal traditionally has been a 3.0 for the student athletes, which is a pretty good goal for 400 kids. But we exceeded that, 4 out of the last 5 years. And so this last year we said, you know what, we're going to set a 3.1. We're going to go for a 3.1 and slowly just start to increase that and to set a goal and to reach a little bit. We may not get there this year, but that's what our goal is going to be set at, to encourage them to push and to do better. We're not asking for 4.0, for 400 students. That's almost impossible. But going back to the Division I question, it's just as important, if not more so, at Division I. So across all NCAA levels, academics is top priority. And some schools do it better than others. There's been a lot of bad press out there of some academic scandals and whatnot. But that's the squeaky wheel, gets all that bad press. But there's so much good out there of student athletes and examples that they're doing amazing stuff in the classroom and, of course, athletically.
And what I like is we are Dixie Sun here, newspaper, and the press picks up on that and acknowledges the extraordinary efforts, because I don't think the average citizen or student understands what it means to be a student athlete, the commitment, the time and effort commitment, not only to your classroom responsibilities, academic responsibilities, but athletically you're expected to excel.
A typical schedule is going to class in the morning, whether you have an 8 o'clock or not, but you're going to class in the morning because you will have practice at 1, 2, maybe even 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe even some therapy, for an injury, or getting ready with the training room, getting taped and all that beforehand, and then you have a 2-hour practice, and then you maybe have an evening class, or you have to maybe go to work because these student athletes aren't on full rides. They may have to make ends meet somehow by having a part-time job. And then that leaves how many hours to get some homework done and study before the next day? So, and then, by the way, throw in traveling. So the football team left last night at 6 o'clock, and they're gone all day today, and they're traveling, and they're playing, traveling to Pueblo today, playing there tomorrow night at 6, and at 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night, getting on the bus and driving all the way back through the night to get back into town about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
Wow.
To get up and go back to class on Monday morning. So it's a grind, just physically on them, not only the games, but riding on buses and traveling. And it's amazing and remarkable, these student athletes and what they're able to accomplish. And what they do.
I'm glad you brought all that out, because I know a lot of people have this idea that they're giving the easy ride when it comes to being a student. And I can attest to that.
No.
I've never had any pressure whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the students have improved, and they're more dedicated to the whole picture of
Good.
student athletes. So I wanted to let you know that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's always some outliers that that we'll always have, but that's okay. Everyone needs help, whether you're a 4.0 or a 2.2.
That's right.
So we try to help everybody.
Some of the other colleges and universities actually have put together a building or a place where your student athletes can go for tutorial service,
Academic support, yeah.
separately for the student athletes because of their schedules and things of that sort. Is that being considered here for Dixie State? Is that part of that performance center possibly, or?
No, it's not in the Human Performance Center. We don't really have the personnel and those resources right now.
Okay.
It's something that we are working very closely with the resources that the university has already in place, the tutoring center, the writing center, and we're pushing our student athletes to use those services. And those entities, the tutoring center specifically, is just so excited to open their arms to help our student athletes and have them come.
And
we've made a concerted effort this year to do it that way, as opposed to having our own study halls, because they're going to have their study hall time that we're going to require them to do, but it's going to be with directed help from an actual tutor.
That's
not
great.
just sitting in a room and studying. Now, some students may just need just sitting in a room and studying, and that's fine. But there's a lot that need directed help, whatever the subject is, biology or even English or whatever it might be. That's where we're going to see a tremendous push and improvement this year. But it's using the resources that Dixie State already has in place.
That's great.
Not something off on on the backfield where it's we're off in a silo and we're doing our own thing and these student athletes are getting all this amazing help. Dixie State, we don't have that, and even if we were to consider a Division I model like you mentioned with our own academic center, I don't know that we would have that in the foreseeable future, just because of physical facilities available and the budget. We would have other budgetary things that we would need to hit first, but why not use the resources that are already here? They're students.
That's right.
So why not?
Well, I just got the signal that we're running out of time, unfortunately, because I could talk on and on with you. This has just been fantastic.
Well, let's do it again sometime.
I really appreciate it. New league. The name of the new league is
the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. We've already started, and we're going to start our football tomorrow. So we're kind of excited about that. And I'm just excited about the whole program. Your whole program. It's and the community is buying into it.
Well,
I want the community, and you do, and Dixie State, and there's a lot of people, alumni around the area that want to. This is my university, and even if you haven't attended Dixie State University, if you live in St. George, this is your university.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know your schedule's busy. You try to coordinate all these teams and all the travel and keeping tabs on everybody and everything. So Dr. Jason Boothe, thank you. Athletic Director, Dixie State University, thank you very much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another episode of Tips, Topics, Issues, and Positions. You can hear this program at 3 o'clock on Friday and rebroadcasted on KDXI 100.3 on Saturday at 4:30. Also, you can take a look at our beautiful faces on Facebook anytime you want to, or YouTube, or our podcast affiliate Podbean also is carrying it for us at your convenience. So until that time, please have a safe and enjoyable day, and we'll listen to you and listen to us, and we'll see you and you see us about a week from now. Goodbye, everybody.